Great. Great. Okay, great. We'll battle. Great. Onegaishimasu. Oh, great. So, this workshop, I call this one the Vital Techniques. This was named after one of the Saito books, one of the old traditional Aikido books, I think volume 3. And this is the one where he starts to go into bodywork. So 1 and 2 are kind of based on the weapon system, and then 3 is based on weapon work. And one of the big sections on it is variations as well. Variations, and actually it's volume 4, sorry. So it goes to variations, and he looks also at temi points. So there's lots of kind of variety in the movements. And it's also, if you read the introduction, he starts to talk about the idea of Takemusu Aikido. So this idea of like spontaneously generated technique. So what we'll look at is this idea of going from the basic system into this kind of idea of like going into subtle variations on the basics. And then obviously this kind of idea of Takemusu is kind of tricky to talk about and practice because it's based on spontaneity and actually responding to the moment rather than like a prearranged thing. So but we'll kind of go into that kind of area of looking at variations and kind of free form. So we'll focus mostly today on the Bokken, and then tomorrow we'll look at the Joe as well. So, okay, but we'll start with these Seitai movements as well, because also why I like the Seitai movements is they also have the same kind of structure or same kind of system as we have. So working from a kind of basic, very simple core movement, and then kind of working on blending them together. And then eventually the idea of the Seitai movement is to go into this kind of spontaneous area where you're moving the body freely without kind of free constraints or anything like that. So we'll start with these movements, but the first one is kind of up and down. Just want to start getting the body loose. Softening through the feet, let the body really sink into the ground. And these exercises, the part of the Seitai system, are also called Katsugan Undo, which means like regenerative movement practice or regenerative movement exercises. But one of the definitions I like is movement from within. So it has an idea in Katsugan Undo is to kind of get back to the source of the movement, the body movement. And it also has this idea of kind of regenerative. They use it as kind of a healing practice. So we'll just kind of work on in these directions nice and clear. Now, what you want to do is just drop the body down. So keep that same kind of up and down motion, but just really letting the body release at the bottom. That kind of letting the body drop, drain towards the floor. And a little bit of an up down movement, keeping the knees relaxed, lower body is relaxed. Feel the difference in weight between the lower body and upper body. Nice kind of light feeling in the spine. And then coming back into that movement, what I want you to think about now is the whole spine. And think about, although we do this last one as a kind of wave, you can actually do all of them in these kind of wave patterns. So think about now this up-down motion, but really letting the spine kind of release. You've got a much kind of bigger movement, and it starts becoming a kind of bouncing movement and starts to have a kind of flexible kind of stretch through the body. You can experiment a little bit with this. You can also bring the foot forward, raise the body up a little bit more. But again, think about this idea of kind of moving. The movement comes from the internal up to the periphery of the body. Kind of soft wave comes to the body. Same time, really lengthening through the spine. Again, got the same kind of idea, like if we go into this AIKIKAI area, the system, everything starts to become a little bit softer, a little bit more flexible. So the spine's nice and free all the time. Sit. Great. And then if we take it into the front and back, again, you've got to kind of, in a way, the kind of basic, letting the body sway, front and back. Think a little bit about moving from the chest. As if someone's got a hand placed on the chest, like they're kind of pushing forwards, pulling forwards, pushing back. Exploring the feet a little bit, going to the toes, coming to the heel. Exploring the idea of balance in the body. Out of balance, back into balance. Want to keep all the joints nice and free. And again, just let the body drop down, release into the spine, and just look now at a little bit of a kind of front back movement. So a little bit with the chest, and rock it forwards and backwards, and let the arm just kind of follow that movement as well. Then you might feel a nice heaviness in the lower body. A little bit shift forward onto the hands. Look. And then drawing the body back up. And again, just looking at that same movement, but a little bit more flexible now. Got a kind of rolling with a wave through the spine. It's much more this kind of flexible front and back idea. Got the whole wave kind of passing through the spine. Great, and then taking it side to side, so shifting the weight over to a nice basic movement. This one for me is also much more about shifting the weight, so you're fully shifting the weight to the one side, one foot. Let it settle down, let the other leg just stay free. The arms relax, if the kind of arms weigh the body down. And at the same time, think about, this one's kind of easy to do in a way like crunching to the side. Think about also keeping the spine lengthened all the way through that movement. At both sides of the body, kind of lengthening over to the side. Not quite a stretch, but creating length through the side of the body. Great, and then again, just dropping the body down. And just play that kind of side to side movement now. Mostly focused on the feet. Just letting the weight shift over to the one side, shift over to the other. Again, just let the weight of the arms sway. Get a little bit of a rotation in the body. Again, drawing up, thinking about lightness in the spine, and again, think about a way legs are moving through the body. The weight shift is now flexible through the feet. Explore a little bit to the feet, lifting them up, moving the body a little bit. Things getting that flexibility in the spine. Okay, great. And the next one, taking into a rotation. And again, you want a nice basic one. I think about the basic also where the spine's kind of nice and straight, relaxed, and you're just working on that direction, just the rotation in the hips in this case. Keeping the arms nice and relaxed, softly wrap up against the body. If you think about the way the weight's working in the feet, you'll probably feel you go one side into the back of the foot, the heel area, and on the opposite side, you probably go more towards the toes, the ball of the foot. But just listen to the weight in the feet, where you feel it, how you generate that kind of spiral through the body. Letting the weight settle between the feet. Slightly different weight distribution. Good, and again, just dropping the body down first. Let the weight sink towards the ground. And again, just work on a slight rotation through the body. You feel it's going to come right from the hip. You want that motion to come directly from the hips. And your arms kind of follow it. And from this position, just start to draw the body up and just working that rotation. So you're working now a little bit more with this kind of wave. And the idea now with this one, it's a little bit more flexible. Let one side of the body also kind of drop. You can play with this also to the back a little bit. So a little bit more like the rotation becomes much more kind of a spiral now, a much clearer spiral. The body work. So let the body drop down. It's like this kind of windmilling, one arm coming down, one arm coming up. They're really based on this rotation from the nice and flexible. Yeah. Right. And then the last direction is the inside outside direction, or I think it's clear if you think about kind of closing and opening the body. And if you've got a nice clear basic, really from the kind of pelvis out. Find that position and then close it down. The key thing here, again, it's like the Aikido with the basic work. Try and feel where that, if you find a stillness in the movement, feel where that movement can start from. So where the movement starts from, it's really going to determine whether I can make it flexible. Think about it really coming from the center of the body. Next, a little bit more extreme, drawing down with the body. And then opening out to the back, bending back a little bit. Great. And then letting the body drop down. Yeah. Settling down a little bit, let the spine release. And again, think about now working inside outside. So you kind of open, close the body. Open, close the body. And with this one, just start to draw the body up a little bit more. Time. Closing down, opening up. Closing the body down, opening right up. You're kind of full range of motion. Opening up, closing down. Opening up, closing down. And once you've got kind of fully down, just start to make it a little bit smaller. A little bit staying up, more vertical. Again, just take that into a wave. A really flexible movement now, all the way to the spine. And a wave this kind of includes all the movement. The key direction here is this open. And then the idea with that kind of system is to take those 5 movements as kind of base, or those 5 movements are bases for natural body movement, and then it's to go into this kind of spontaneous movement areas where you're just following the body. And this idea of like spontaneous is you're moving without like external influences. So this idea of moving from within kind of comes up. So the easiest way I can think about doing this is pick kind of one direction, which it can be whichever direction, and then just think about shifting into another. For example, like going into rotation. Take that movement, and then just think about shifting it to another kind of vertical. So this is obviously kind of conscious, so you're making the decision to change it. Shift the movement. Shift the movement. Another good thing to play is think about making the movement small and making the movement bigger with the movement. And the other things you can think about, you can think obviously any kind of body movement, kind of infinite in a way. You can think about pulsing the movement, even the up and down. You can think about this idea of swaying the body. We can think about this idea of stretching like a kind of elastic through the body. But really any kind of quality of movement, just kind of free to explore it in these 5 directions. Okay, great. We will go to the bottom one. Oh, what's that? Ladybird.
Yeah, ladybug on my
Wow.
Get rid of it. One moment, please. Komm. So, sehr gut. Ja, können Sie in die Blume sitzen. Pardon.
Okay, great. So we'll start with the same. We've obviously got a really basic system, so we'll just start with number 1, just really coming into the Kamai. And that extension, reaching it to the back, nice and clear. Sinking and keeping the spine nice and long, finding the curve. Exploring those 2 positions. Nice strong extension, but really centered movement. good. And then just to go into an exercise, to go into a kind of flexible position. Just go now with a really deliberate pace, nice and slow, but you want one movement all the way through, but just letting it slide towards the floor, rocking back. The key part in this is the transition as you draw the foot back and the sole to the spine, transitioning that straight into movement. But just take it super slow, so you've got a really clear window on that movement there. There's no point in the movement where you kind of where you stop the body now. So and the key thing is the weight distribution through the feet. Go all the way into the back leg and sink into the front, in 50-50. Nice and slow. Okay, great. And then another exercise from here. This is starting to work now into the cut with the focus. So what I want you to do is start in the kamae and just start to gently raise and lower the body. Gently raise and lower. Gently raise and lower. Just start to work into the cut. So each time a little bit bigger. Or feel free to kind of work in between. So small, soft, but keep the body, keep the movement now in motion. So it stays flexible. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's good.
Sorry, system failure.
Right. Good back. Yeah, and now if you take it to the full movement each time, think about now the movement. You want this quality of a bit of a wave through the movement. So for that to happen, you need the body to be, although it's working together, you need the body to be working independently in its own areas. So in that, what you want from this is that what we tend to do, we spend a lot of time hands and feet together. Everything starts kind of locked together. And if I stay in that level, I end up with a really kind of rigid movement. And any kind of idea of taking it towards flexibility or it's this kind of wave is going to be locked because all the body's kind of joint locked together, like this kind of idea. So you want to let the body, the movement come from the center and affect the periphery out. So that means the center, in this case, of the cut is going to land first. So what I want to just experiment with is just think about landing the weight of the center through. Don't forget, it looks similar to this first idea of kind of swinging the cut through, but the focus now is on actually hitting the ground with the center. So at the point around about this point in the cut, the center's already hit the ground and kind of finished the movement. Just think about as you come down now, as you're going to hit the ground with the center. Hit the ground with the center. And that's going to happen like fractionally before the sword passes through this kind of area. Just experiment with it. Yeah. Obviously, you need to have the basic really in order to be to kind of access this level, but spend a lot of time on the basics. So I just want to start exploring this level. Much more flexible. Yeah. And there's a really simple idea where you can get this concept into the body as well. So you just take the sword like this. Now, if I lock the body up as I drop the sword, so come into this area, the body will lock up and it'll actually fall over this way. If I allow it, but I can hold the body rigidly like this, which is actually what most of us do a lot of the time, especially when we're kind of holding the body totally rigid. So then I had this idea of grounding, but I think I'm grounded, but actually I'm not. I'm just kind of stuck. So just get the sense from here. If I do kind of nothing in the center, or the center is kind of over the sword, I will kind of collapse over. So just play with this. First one to down and do it wrong. So you want to drop through, lock up, and then you will feel the body just kind of collapse over. So with extension out, the body will just tip over. Well, so if the knees are locked, the elbows get locked. Everything just will slowly start to fall over if I don't hold the body up. You just want to experience that kind of feeling. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, exactly. There we go. And this idea of like weight underneath, this is really where this comes from. Or this is where this is really clear. The weight's on the top. On the top, you're just going to capsize. The body's just going to go right over the top. It's a really clear, simple exercise. You can totally feel it. Yeah, and then the same idea, but you just want to start slowly grounding the body, grounding the movement. So in this case, you want this idea that the center as if it's kind of plugging in for the ground. So that follows that. That follows that. So now the arm movement, the upper body's got something to kind of hit into. So you want to now sink in there. And it's like a fraction just before the arm's coming down, the body has a sense of hitting the ground. And that's true with like whatever kind of movement you do, especially when you're kind of extending away from the body. You want to be centered, grounded, and then that movement can have a sense of slotting into the ground. So, yeah. And the real benefit of this is also that you don't need to lock up anything. You don't need to lock up the joint system to kind of ground the body. And the idea with that later is that you can go straight into movement. So there's no sense of being locked. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, good. Yeah, great. And then just go between these two exercises. You can also explore different movements with this. It goes a little bit different work. But that same idea, you want to now find in the cut. So obviously it's a different coordination or different setup with the body. But you want that same idea. And if I kind of lock the body up, you will get that kind of kick up or kick over. And that's what we tend to do, is we kind of lock the body up, especially in the shoulders, or you start to throw the butt back, all these kind of things. Just try and get the sense that you ground the body, ground the body. Just a fraction before, body hitting the ground, and then the cuts come into that. Yeah, so. That's okay, great. And then last minute or so, just play with the cut, coming into the cut, keeping that kind of soft, flexible movement, and then just coming out of it into movement. Around a little bit, find the kamai, find the cut. Just want to feel that move, that shift into movement out from the cut is nice and direct. Really relax, go straight into the body. So you just kind of walk out of the cut. Just explore that transition into movement. Notice if you're holding any kind of tension in the body, especially in the knees, you need to, in order to move, release it. Yeah. So that release will happen naturally. Just listen to it, and you just want to make it less and less that you have to release anything. Okay, good. Last few cuts. Just you want now to do the same exercise without the movement. It's actually not the same. You want to feel that you can move, but don't actually move. So you should feel free to be able to take that step, take the move, but don't actually make it. But you just want to feel free, and you want to feel it. You want to see if that the feeling of being able to move affects the actual movement itself. So or the idea of going into movement should also make the body a bit more balanced as well, a little bit more relaxed, but just take it to the next cut. Just the last few, get to that point, feel that you can make the movement, but don't make it. And then take it to the next. And we're looking to just get more centered, more grounded, more relaxed through the movement, whilst keeping a good extension, strong movement. Take a few moments, feel that you can move, and then take it to the next one. Okie dokie, great. We'll stop right there and take a bit of work. Great. Domo arigato. Domo arigato. Okie dokie, great. So we'll continue with the bokken after the break. We will start at 11.